Hello everyone, this is another edition of Talk Back for Teens Youth News. I am one of your co-hosts, Bernard Rodgers, and here with me assisting me is...
Shantinique Cowans.
All right, our first story today comes all the way from Arapahoe High School, which is in Shantinique, Colorado. In this story, there was a young man who had a dispute with his teacher, and because of that, in the following days, he decided to bring a rifle to school in order to confront that teacher. What was found in this shooting was that he didn't actually get to the teacher. The teacher heard about the student with the rifle, and the teacher exited the school and he left. But as for the school, it left one student dead and another student wounded. We're still looking more into this story to give you guys a further update on what's going on.
Yeah, I know for a fact that when the story first came out, it wasn't a dead student. It was one wounded, one injured, and I think that after taking him to the hospital, he ended up dying over time, which is kind of sad. But you don't want to say that that's more of a positive note, but it kind of is due to the fact that the teacher heard about it early. So it's he was able to escape. Now imagine if the teacher hadn't heard about it and it went into a classroom and the teacher tried to probably start running and exiting or whatever. That could have been more potential fatal deaths and stuff from the students in his classroom, just because the kid probably, for all we know, had no experiences and just aiming for what he wants dead.
Yeah.
So.
And from one of the students, Jade, it was actually a female, her name was Jade, she said she remembered all of the students and the teachers in her classroom going into a corner and they locked the door and they turned the lights off because they were afraid that the student was going to come into their room and possibly shoot all of them because he was looking for the one specific teacher. Another one thing that was special or important that I found interesting was that the Arapahoe High School shooting was just 8 miles away from where the Columbine shooting took place in 1999.
It was also, I don't know how far away or how close it was, but it was also near the time where the guy came in and opened fire in a movie theater.
Yes.
How that happened, I think maybe last year or a year or two ago, just recently. And they were they were looking into it, and I know they were making sure that all those stories weren't kind of connected in any way. And they luckily found out that they had no connection. But that's kind of scary to think about that. We just had the Columbine thing, then this guy opens fire in our movie theater, and now we have a student shooting up the school. So that can be definitely nerve-wracking for a lot of people.
And I know in a lot of these places, the individuals say that you always think that something like this could never happen in your community, but you just never know.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm scared about is I'm just wondering if this is something that's becoming a trend.
Because those events, getting how the Columbine thing was back in the 90s and the movie theater shooting was just 2 years ago, these events are getting closer and closer in time. And so that's pretty scary to look at and
But what I want to know is how are these people getting a hold to these guns? That's what I want to figure out. The kid had to be no more than 13 or 15 or something like that, and he is getting a gun, and that's how he's choosing to handle his situation, by just simply shooting his teacher.
Yeah, his parents actually had guns in the house. That's how he got access to it. But I'm not really sure how he actually made his way completely to the school. How old did it say he was? I'm pretty sure he's not legal driving age.
He's not.
So it's how do you take a gun and you ride on your bike to school, and it's where do you put that? It was a shotgun, so I don't see how that would fit in his book bag. And so I'm kind of confused as to how far he actually walked, and no one said anything or alerted anyone that, whoa, shut down the school. There's a kid walking near the vicinity with a gun in his hand. So it's just in some ways it could have been prevented, but not everybody sees everything. So
yeah. I know there's a lot of talk about creating school systems. Well, with us from urban school settings, we're used to metal detectors and things of that sort.
Yeah.
But what I'm wondering is if those things are going to start being implemented in these
suburban
areas. And, yeah.
I don't know. It looks like that's what it's going to have to start being, because the shootings that happen in the urban areas and they're having in the streets and stuff, but you hardly ever hear about having it in the schools. but it's starting to like people look at that and look down at it. But it's just like you look at the suburban schools and it's like that stuff happens in the schools. You have casualties in the school. Like usually, like it's just like, oh, a bomb threat or something, and then it's like nothing, and you get all the students evacuated. But now they're actually physically putting everyone in harm. So it seems like I feel like that might be the way to start handling it, maybe. Yeah. I don't know, or to look into it.
Yeah, but it's just sad because on the other hand, you never know what this kid possibly could have been going through, and it's not saying that it's okay for him to necessarily be taking a gun to school to handle his situations, but who knows what that kid will be going through. And everyone who reads this or sees this story will probably just automatically think victim, persecutor, or,
Yeah, they automatically look at him as like the bad guy, but he could have been like, for all we know, he could have been like abused at home, bullied in school, like bullied online, and then that teacher gave him a bad grade, and that just set everything off. So, like, sometimes things like that build up, and, I know they're doing, like, further investigation to look further into it, but sometimes, as soon as we hear it, it's just like, whoa, that kid just shut up at school, but, we actually have to look further into it and get the full story. Like, you never know what happens in someone's life.
Yeah, this is definitely a story that I'm going to follow and look more into, and we'll get more back to you guys, all right?
Yeah, I have a story. It's not really it's kind of something that's going on local here in Rochester as far as graduation rates being a problem, especially with the urban youth. They have the Rochester City School District has been trying to do many things to help better the situation, like providing multiple opportunities to take exams so you can have multiple chances of getting a higher score and eventually passing it. They've, for kids who don't graduate with their class on time, they've offered summer school and a summer graduation. And so it's becoming a real problem that, they have started to put into effect different opportunities and different programs that'll probably help to initiate some type of plan on making those graduation rates increase. So they've started, I know in a few schools, especially my younger sister's school, they started longer school hours. Mm-hmm. And when I first heard of it, I'm just like, man, like my sister, she starts school at 9, they get out like around 3, like 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then they have studying in school until 5, which I think is good. But then when I first heard of it, she's like, I'm in school from 9 to 5. I'm like, that's a job. Yeah. So I was just like, oh God, I couldn't do it. But then it's just like, some kids need that. They don't go home and do their homework. They don't go home and study. They don't have someone to help them with their, with their schoolwork. So it's just like, hopefully we'll start seeing a change.
I mean, with that kind of situation, you just never know. Because when I initially heard of that change, I initially began to think that a lot of the kids are already shutting down in the normal hours. So just extending that would only make it that much worse, because you never know where that tipping point is from actually learning and, just being miserable, feeling miserable. But I actually think it can possibly do some good. I think it's worth us following and seeing how it works out. I know a lot of their reasons for extending the hours is because if kids are in school, then they don't have the possibility of getting into trouble or, pretty much just not doing pretty much anything with their lives. So I think it'll be interesting to follow and to see where it goes.
Yeah, that works out well with the parents too, because sometimes you have those kids that they come home and they're home by themselves for hours because their parents are at work. But having a longer school day, sometimes you have the opportunity to be there when your child gets home. And I know that I don't think they've started it in the high school, but I know they've definitely started in the elementary schools. And I think that's a really good idea, because the younger age you get them and you get them captivated and engaged in learning and reading, stuff like that, then they're more likely to stick with those trends and continue it out in middle school and high school and on to college. But you can't just have a high school student who's 2 years from graduating, already hates school, hates life, everything, and then tell them that they sit in class for an extra couple hours, because you're not getting anywhere. So it's better to start at a young age and get them to actually like and enjoy going into school. But I know they've started other things, like the urban suburban program that we talked about earlier in the segment, that has helped to get more kids engaged in school. I know with my younger brothers, they're at Robert Brown, and when we eat food on Saturdays at RIT, I see students from Rochester City School District's high schools in our campus, and that's really good because you get them looking walking around campus and doing work on campus, eating in the cafeterias, and taking explores is just like, by doing that, you give them that opportunity to be like, I can see myself here. If you can see yourself there, you have something to reach for. It's better than, well, I'm going to apply to colleges, but I've never been outside my high school or outside my community. So I think that's definitely a really good thing that we're starting to do.
I mean, I think that's important because I always, we obviously know, you and the viewers that watch our show know that there's always going to be problems and there are always going to be issues within the school district. But I just wish there was a way that we could kind of find something that works. I feel like we have a lot of programs. Every time I turn around, there's a new initiative or a new program or a new this and a new that, and they don't really go anywhere. So I wish that we could have like a group of people that are, and yes, we have the Board of Education and, all those kinds of things, but a group of people that could really sit down and do some research and figure out what actually works, because this is a time where things are changing rapidly with the use of technology and, all the crazy things that we have today that we love, but we can also hate at the same time. So we
technology.
Just find something that works. That's what I feel.
Well, I like that, like, even though, like, certain plans aren't working, I like that they haven't actually given up hope. Because a lot of people, they're just like, with, like, the urban serving program, sometimes it's just like, well, I can't, like, nothing's changing fast enough, nothing's happening. I want my kid in a better environment, so let me stick in that program. But it's just like the people that are implementing these plans, even though some of them aren't followed through completely and some of them are, it's just that I like that they're not giving up hope and they're coming up with new ideas and new initiatives and everything to get things moving. Because without those people and without doing that, we're never going to get anywhere. So it's just like, they've actually, like, from the past years, they've, like, actually, like, they're starting to see, like, it's a very slow and a very small increase, but progress is progress. Like, as long as you're making progress, it'll continue to grow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that's the key. I think you said it. Finding what helps us create progress and continuing to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, these have been our stories for Youth News for you tonight. Once again, I'm Shantinique Cowans.
And I am Bernard Rodgers.
We're Talkback for Teens. Check out our website. So that's Talkback for Teens with a 4. We have an Instagram, a Facebook, Twitter. Tweet us, repost our photos. We'll be posting photos from today's segment on the Urban Suburban program. And have a nice night.
Their reaction when you tell them you go to a suburban school now, or what do they ask? Like,
just knocking down my questions.
Sorry.
That's just fun.
like that.
No, it's because I gave it to John to take photos.
Oh no, we are the only ones left.
Woo!
Although I can't stay here, sit down, no time for running around. Holiday, I wanna be there in the sun. I wanna be there far away. I'll meet you on holiday. Holiday, I'll be the bird that flies away. And you're looking right today. I'll meet you on holiday. Put my flag up in the air, tying feathers in your hair. It's so different when you're there. Oh no, we are the only ones left. And I know, although I can't stay here, sit down, no time for running around. Holiday, I wanna be there in the sun. I wanna be there far away. I'll meet you on holiday. And holiday, I'll be the bird that flies away. And you're